Asante sana. Habari za mchana. My name is Iku. For this audience, I'll keep it short. That's my name, my short name. I will not say the full one. But I'm the co-founder, and I'm humbled to serve as the co-CEO of Shule Direct, a Tanzanian nonprofit that works in education technologies. And my work for the last decade has focused on how we can transition agile digital innovations into national public infrastructure through strategic partnerships. So this is hard for me to be introducing myself, but anyway, as someone who's deeply passionate about digital technologies, and particularly humane technology and ethical AI, I am fascinated by this intersection of state systems and user realities, because sometimes we can talk about these national policies, things, but are not necessarily grounded to the user realities. So it's always important to find that common ground. And for that reason, I am honored to moderate this session today, because I believe that the future of Tanzania's digital architecture depends on bridging that very gap between institutional technology and citizen trust. So before I call my panelists, we'll do a quick pulse check in the room. So please stand up if you logged on to Jamii forums yesterday or today. Okay. Please stand up or keep standing if you're part of a WhatsApp group. Wow, okay. Family WhatsApp groups, they count. Vikoba. Neighborhood WhatsApp groups. There are still people sitting, okay. So please keep standing or stand up if you have actually logged on, whether you used a USSD or you used an app to pay for luku, maji, ulinzi shirikishi, control number, parking fee, yesterday, today, day before yesterday. Okay. So there's still a few of us who are sitting, which is okay. It's totally fine, because this is our story. This is the reality. A big hand of applause to us, and I'll tell you why in a minute, and you can be seated, thanks. So according to the latest data on TCRA, Tanzania has an internet penetration rate of 84%, or over 80%. And we've heard in the report today that was being presented, we've had a less percentage of internet users, and we can understand that discrepancy, because when we're talking about internet subscriptions, it could be, I am one person with 5 devices. But what's that showing is we are engaged, we are connected, we are using some of these services or some of these innovations. And most interestingly, it was very interesting to see that there was only one person who logged on to Jamii forums today, but we are seeing the numbers are over 2 million monthly users on Jamii forums. And this is a good example of a civic space, a civic engagement space, where Watanzania wa kawaida can share their views, their pains, their frustrations, and their excitement. But what does all this mean? I think for me, this really hones in the fact that we are connected and we are ready to engage. Which brings us to the heart of our discussion today. We're looking at e-government and public sector innovation in Tanzania. And how might we reach that ideal citizen-centered digital state? So I am honored to introduce a panel that spans the entire digital architecture of our country. We have a lot of expertise, very diverse, but very important. And they'll be helping us to shed the light on how can we collectively move towards an interactive, citizen-centered digital state. I will introduce the panel, and please, in no way, if I call you first, it means you're more important than the others. They're all equally important. So first up, I would love to invite my brother, Mike Mushi, a brilliant mind, an entrepreneur who, at the age of 16, does anyone remember what they were doing when they were 16? Climbing trees, anything else? Listening to 80s music when you're 16. Oh, nice, okay. You had a Walkman, right? Okay. I'm sure some people don't know what a Walkman is here, but anyway, it's fine. So at age of 16, Mike founded Jamii Forums, building it into a revolutionary online safe space for Swahili speakers in Tanzania. And I don't want to say how many years ago that was so that we don't expose his age now, but he's still young. Next up, Kennedy Murray. I hope he's in the room.
So much in the room.
Awesome. Oh, because of the pillars, I couldn't see it. Thank you. So Kennedy is a communications agency leader who has directed over 250 campaigns spanning digital transformation and public strategy. He is the founder and CEO of Serengeti Bytes. Welcome, Kennedy. Next, I would love to call upon Heri Mbiro, senior partner at Breakthrough Attorneys, president of the Project Management Institute Tanzania chapter, an expert in corporate commercial law and tech-driven legal practices. I think he's a personal lawyer for all startups in Tanzania. And it's also, I'm humbly to invite him here because he's also my board member at Chile Direct. Last but not least in the order of importance, and bear with me because I didn't get the confirmation if the speaker is here. We are supposed to have engineer Daniel Sarungi. So if you're in the room, thank you. Engineer Daniel Sarungi is a digital transformation lead at the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. So I would love to ask all of you to give them a warm welcome. All right, so we started with, and please bear with me. You all understand right now, Dar es Salaam, there's this nasty cold going on, so please bear with my voice. Otherwise, it's usually very beautiful. I can attest to it. So, without further ado, we've grounded the realities of where we are in terms of the citizen engagement, especially when it comes to the digital innovations, the public innovations. We know of a few examples, we know of a few platforms that citizens engage with. So I would really love for us, and would really love to learn from all of you, from your expertise. What are your thoughts? We're trying to get into an ideal digital state in Tanzania with all its challenges, and many of them were mentioned throughout the day. We've heard from the report presentation, from the keynote speech by Dr. Nkundwe, and even from the last panel that I happened to attend. We've heard some incredible things, but also things that are sparking more questions for us. So to get us started, I would really love to hear from all of you. And if I didn't say anything in how you like people to know you here, you can start with that one-line introduction. But I would really like us to look at the theme for this particular forum. The theme is centered around governing the digital future. In this context, creating an interactive, citizen-centered digital state matters because it directly impacts public trust, it stretches public resources further, and transforms a passive taxpayer into an active partner in governance. So in your views, I would love to hear from you. How can the state deploy digital public services in a manner that genuinely increases citizen trust, accountability, and privacy? So we can start with Engineer Daniel, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, I'm very happy to be here with the panel for discussing, sharing the history a bit about our digital transformation journey in Tanzania. I can tell you that our journey started long way from the individual government processes towards the building digital state, which is interconnected together with the citizen at the center. So the best way to deploy that, what as the government side, what we learned and we invested much on having the coordinated digital ecosystem, which was all governed with the Jamii stack. We had the Jamii stack, which is Tanzania technology stack, which is actually guiding the digital public infrastructure. And today, one of the things that we highlight is we are very, very much successful in a country, is we have managed to coordinate the digital public infrastructure, that all the, we have more than 30 million citizens with their national identities, and they can actually have access to various services. We have more than 1,000 services that are provided digitally with the government agencies. We have more than 800 systems that are integrated and doing the interoperability stuffs. We have more than 184, almost 184 local government institutions and local government authorities that are all interconnected together, and that is all because of the Jamii stack, which is actually it is leading us towards the connected digital governments as we are building the digital state. But also, we as Tanzania, those initiatives have been recognized. We have been recognized and listed in category A of the GovTech Maturity Index by the World Bank, which is actually the highest category in digital maturity when it comes to government digital maturity. We are actually in category A. This is along with countries like in East Africa. Actually, we are leading in category A, but other countries include Egypt and Mauritius, some of the UK and EU countries. But again, what we have gone through, while we're going through the process, we have learned a very difficult part, which is one is that digital transformation is not just only ICT project, is the institutional reforms. So you might find some of the initiatives are there, but we are still waiting for the institutional reforms as well. This involves policies, it involves leadership commitment. All of them are connected all together to the perfect digital transformation. So toward the Jamii stack is a great way that we all coordinated together to make sure that we are going to deliver. And our vision is the government is a digital society. When every citizen is on top, is at the center of every services, they are the one that can choose the service. They are the one that can see how their data has been moved from one step to another. And with the Jamii stack, the digital consent mechanism are all in place. So citizens have the access. They can see how their data is moving, but they can also complain immediately to the data protection if their data have been moved without their consent. Thank you.
Thank you, Iku. A point of correction also. I'm a former president of PMI. Yeah, my tenure ended. I think they fired me. Thank you so much. To me, in summary, what citizen-centered digital infrastructure or digital development would be, number one, a simple definition. I think we've been struggling a lot and from a legal perspective, I think if you've ever read any statute, you'll see the first part of it is definitions. That's what lawyers do, we define. First of all, we need to have a universal understanding of what really is citizen-centered, but also if we're talking about digital economy, digital infrastructure, digital access, all these must be defined. That's the number one. But then again, why do we define? We want to define to see, again, for these citizens, as we are speaking about citizen-centered, is access there for everybody? Universal access. Is everybody covered with it? And from that, we'll get the benefits, profitability, ability to actually exploit, make use, create products, etc. But finally, that I would love to see, because all this technology, all this development, new trends, etc., they come at a price. Again, what are the protections that these citizens that we are saying the technology is centered on? How are they protected? So I will come and call them consumers as users. So what are the user protection of the system and the development in technology that we are doing? So for me, that's what I would love to see in terms of this discussion, and of course in terms of where we are going. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'd not like to repeat what my fellow colleagues have said. I think being able to witness at the time where the internet was for the few, the wealthiest, to the internet now is for everybody, they've been a transformation. And I think what I see is a missing puzzle is how do we transform all this digital infrastructure we talk about to link with the economy? How is it helping a normal citizen prospering in his life? I think we have made all these safeguards. We have made all this big infrastructure, but I don't think it has translated directly in how the livelihood of a normal Mwananchi will improve. I see there's a very big gap between, you know, we have put all these criteria for how we govern these things, but we have not really put our hands down and look at how are we embedding private sector into this world, and how are they helping then create an entire economy around it. So because that economy is what will keep this, you know, infrastructure safe. And without that, I can see all the risk, all the bubbles, all the lights, because we have not made a mechanism to keep it safe. And for it to keep it safe, it has to be an economy, and the economy to revolve has to touch every Mwananchi. So right now, me having, for example, a Jamii number, how is it linked to me actually prospering, getting my life better? So I think if we are able to link those two, then we can create a mechanism to a safety net to protect this, because as we go on, cybersecurity becomes an expense. As we go on, data storage becomes an expense. As we go on, you know, all these things become an expense. And then who pays for that? If there's no mechanism, you know, that keeps it safe, then we are all at risk. Thank you.
Thank you. I think everything has been said, and it's unfortunate to be the last one to say. But I'll just say something very brief. I think the bigger question in conversation like this comes down to two things: inclusion and participation.
Sorry, could you move the mic closer to you?
Yeah, inclusion and participation. How many people, we can look at the numbers, and they're very impressive. Like the first speaker said, you have Tanzania sits in a class of its own in terms of government tech maturity. Basically second in Africa. But what is the percentage of citizens who truly understand even what their government is doing in terms of digitization, in terms of technology, etc., etc. So I think that's number one, inclusion. And how many of that population can really participate in such a transforming economy? And that's a very important part of it. So I'll come down to two things: inclusion and participations, because you can build all these technologies and platforms and systems, but if people cannot truly participate in a meaningful manner, such that it can, transform their lives as well as contribute to the overall economy, that's the issue. So the most important bit, I think, would be how we include more people, how we bring more people, how we enable more people to actually participate in such a transformation.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for that. And thanks, Kennedy, for what you highlighted, you being last. So now I'll put you on the spot. You'll be the first. And I think there's something I'm hearing across the board. It's around the context. Yes, I think, Harry, you mentioned it. the connection between what is being made and the end user and the protection. And Mike, you talked about the value, like how do I as an end user see what is that value? So Kennedy, I would love to come back to you and maybe you can reflect from your own experience. You are in the communication space. So what do you think happens? Because we have brilliant e-government tools, and I'm actually, just before I come to you, Kennedy, I wanted to ask the room, how many of us are on Jamii that Engineer Daniel just talked about? By a show of hands. The stack? Do we know of it? How many of us have heard of it before today? Before today, you heard of it? Put your hand down if you're working for the government. I only want people who are not in the government. Okay, so we have CR, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Some people are not sure, like they're putting their hands up later. So. But yeah, coming back to you, Kennedy. So we see that there are brilliant tools that are being launched. There are brilliant initiatives and efforts that are being made by the government. But maybe sometimes the question is around the narrative. How is that narrative shared in the public? Do we all really understand? Or is it very urban-centric? Or is it very techie? So from your experience, how can we reshape the communication strategy of public sector innovation so that the everyday mwananchi can relate? A smallholder farmer, mama lishe, anyone in Tanzania can relate and can see what is the immediate value to them.
Thank you. I think from a communication perspective, it might come down to 2 or 3 things. I think there's a lot of effort in innovation and rolling out quite a number of services and platforms across sectors, especially public sectors. But I think there are a few things that are lacking. One, we innovate, we roll out services and platforms, but we do not onboard. So you're building a very beautiful product, a very functional one, but you don't take effort to actually onboard the citizens. And onboarding actually involves quite a number of things, including sustained effort to communicate about such services or product that we've launched. And I think, so we are likely seeing a lot of good products sitting in government ministries and departments without necessarily communicating. And this is actually leading to citizens still relying to the traditional methods of accessing public services. And I think that being number one. Number two, that means we have to onboard more. You're launching, for example, a car parking fees, which is a digital platform, but you're not educating people enough of how to go and pay the parking fees, right? So the debts accumulates and they're fined and everything in between. That is just one example of what is happening in the public space in terms of onboarding the citizen. But the second bit is also, I think, the government is still heavily dependent on very old models of communication, which is more of public information. So you put an information there, there is no information, feedback loop, and no engagement, and you expect people to actually adapt. So I think the way to go about it in this era, especially when we have digital platforms, is to actually encourage feedback loop, encourage engagement. So this would translate into two-way symmetrical model where you're communicating and you're getting feedback from your citizens. But as it stands, most of our organizations, the institutions within the government are heavily dependent on the model that worked 10, 15 years ago. And I think we need to actually evolve and adapt the way we communicate with the citizens. But also, I think the third thing would be to actually ensure that the innovation that we're putting out there are accessible to most people. Because, again, Tanzania is one of the most expensive, for example, countries in Africa. And not expensive. I would say it's inexpensive, but unaffordable. Let me put it that way. So it's not expensive, but it is not affordable to people. So if you're launching, for example, digital services or any innovation that requires some form of internet connectivity, you may say we have more than 80% of penetration, but at the end of the day, how many people can actually afford it? So one part of the reason why adoption is going on slowly is because most people cannot afford. So it's another way of looking at it, and I think we have to do better at it. Yeah.
Thank you, Kennedy. I think, yeah, I'm hearing the sustained communications and the feedback. I think that's really, really key. And maybe we'll bring it back to Engineer Daniel, because you're the government here. So this is the reality, right? This is the reality of the journey, what we're hearing. And on the same note, we are commending the government. There's a lot of massive strides that are being made when it comes to digital innovations. We've seen a lot. We've seen decentralized payment systems, for instance, that works. But listening to what Kennedy is saying, it brings me to thinking around, there's a lot of mindset shift that has to happen within the government. So maybe from your experience, you can talk about what has been the hardest systemic mindset shift that you've had to overcome within the civil service when moving from these traditional operations to digital-first approaches. We've just heard from what Kennedy was saying, that sometimes we are approaching these innovations with an old thinking. So there is an appreciation of, seeing the government rolling out a digital innovation. It means there's a lot of things that have happened behind the scenes. But maybe just for our benefit, if we can understand just very briefly, if you can talk about one of the hardest systemic mindset shift that you've had to overcome to get to where we are today.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, what I came to realize is the focus of digital transformation is not about systems, it's about people. And if you can see around East Africa, it's only Tanzania that we as citizens, we don't take the ownership of government initiatives altogether to push that as a country. If you can refer to our neighbors, even if a government agent has done a very good thing, they all take it, the ownership, to push that together as their own brand. So the national brand is actually not for the government, it's for the citizens, because the citizens engage more, they interact more, they can access more than any government. So this is a collective responsibility going together. So if I can just add some few notes on the Jamii Stack. Jamii Stack is not a system. Jamii Stack is a foundation. And everyone here has participated in Jamii Stack. For example, I can tell you, we all have mobile phones. You didn't fill a form to have your mobile phone, right? You just scanned your fingerprint. That is built on top of the Jamii Stack. Jamii Stack is a technology stack that lays the foundation for everyone else. So anyone who is coming, if you are, for example, you are building a new system today, maybe from the startups, you don't have to collect registration from people anymore. You just need them to put their Jamii number, which is national identity number, and you can query those data from NIDA. That is part of the Jamii Stack. Today we are having lots of foundation, and we are doing this because we are trying also to bring up the innovators so that they don't start from scratch. They actually build on top of what the government has laid already. So if you can come to the translation of the initiatives that we are currently doing, I can give an example of health. For example, in Tanzania, this is among the first countries where health data is portable. Health data portability means what? If I do an X-ray at a certain hospital, and now I move to another hospital or being referred to another hospital, I don't have to take an X-ray again, because the systems are interoperable and the data is portable. So what is needed is the more qualified doctor we need to re-examine or to assess the X-ray which was already taken with the same machines. So those is, and that is actually currently happening in Tanzania, and it is already in production. For example, and under the Ministry of Health, they managed to have that interoperability, including the private hospitals and the government hospitals altogether. So you are reducing a cost of financial cost to citizens, but again, you are also reducing health issues, because a lot of X-rays, they have a negative impact. So the translation, we have lots of translations. So maybe what I can take is the communication to citizens. So maybe we can discuss, because I'm not a communication expert. Maybe now that I'll take that to the the communication experts, that I can see how we can do this. But I can tell you that even the onboarding is becoming more easier. Even the adoption is even more faster. I can tell you this. Even the adoption, people will hesitate to adopt, maybe due to some restrictions related to technical parts of it, maybe inclusivity, some barriers related to internet connectivity, or what. But once everything is there, everyone would like to have, to remove the chaos of queuing to have the service at the certain office. They would like to have that center. And for the last year, an addition of that is, we have also launched the all post offices. We have the post offices all over the country, in all of 184 councils, that the post offices will now assist the citizens to the onboarding. That means whenever you need a government service, you don't have the internet access, but you have the smartphone, you can go to the nearby post office to connect to the Wi-Fi, or you don't have the smartphone, you can find the desktop help desk attendants. They can onboard you to any service. Let it be the passport renewal, let it be the loss report, let it be any kind of the service. You can just have it from the post office. But again, there is a portion of for self-service that you can even go to the post office and you can do the self-service machines by yourself. So all those are initiatives that are trying to bridge the innovation, this group divergent that we are discussing on the terms of inclusion, so that we bridge the gap to make sure that everyone is part and parcel and enjoying this digital transformation. But I take this opportunity to call up to the community of Tanzania and in general. All of us, we should take these initiatives as ours, not as these are for the government and this is for my own company. No, let's take this together so that we can move this as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I was seeing Kennedy smiling, and I imagine he was already designing some campaigns, especially around that post office innovation. I think that's brilliant. It just needs to be communicated right.
I want to ask a business question. So I can try to make up my point across.
Okay.
So for example, right now I start my company is Mike Service Limited. I go to the government. I tell them, listen, I can onboard people, passport registration, where they are. I'll take my laptop, I'll follow them at home, I'll help them fill the form, I'll submit, because a passport costs 150K. I need 20%. You know, and they don't need to do all this poster thing. I make money, people make passports. You see, so this was my point around how are we bringing this economy down, because this is what will link to his point about onboarding. We can make a business out of it. The government doesn't have to do all of it. I can follow you at home, help you fill your passport forms, because this business right now is done informally, all internet caves. You go there, you pay 10K, they'll help you fill the form of passport on the computer, they print for you, you go to immigration.
Yes.
But I can apply as an agent, like they did with telecoms. People follow people in bars to make them kuhakiki. How can I do that with passports and make money?
I hope you all remember when I was introducing Mike, I said a brilliant mind. This is what I meant. Karibu, engineer.
Thank you so much. So of course, that is where we are going as a vision. As you remember, we discussed about the digital society, and actually, what he's saying is what is currently happening in India. So in India, the same model that we are trying also to do here in Tanzania, we have to start with somewhere. So we started with the telcos, and it's perfectly working. And now we are trying to officiate those small vibandas that are not official through the poster. So once the poster has dominated, or has the regulations and the procedures clean, the poster will now allow for registration of innovators and entrepreneurs to have the license to do that at the village levels and everywhere. So we are heading there, but at least we have started somewhere so that we can all align and then we can move to further steps. So that is also coming, my brother. Yes.
Thank you very much. So with what Engineer Daniel said previously, looking at the interoperability, health, I think that's a very sensitive area, especially for Tanzanians. This is where we love the innovations, but then we will become hesitant. How much of my information is out there? So coming back to you, Mike, I think from your experience, you've really looked at this identity versus privacy dilemma with what you were doing with Jamii Forums. So when we're looking at these innovations, public services, I think they do require that level of privacy, that user authentication to work. So how would you build digital public platforms where citizens can actually trust that their data won't be weaponized against their privacy?
Thank you. So I think right now the problem that we're having is, renewing your driving license equals to, filling up your medical bill, your medical details. You asked a lot of details. And again, I said renewal because I think these details are supposed to be asked once while you register. And then when you're renewing, it should be less. And we are taking more information than what we actually need. And we have a base case that, we need to transact, we need to know you. But I think how we're minimizing to only take the most basic details to help us gain trust so that we can transact, so that we can, give this, maintain our privacy as well. Because the issue with the privacy here is in two ways. One, you might get a data breach where those information are actually, outside there. But you might actually be compelled by government to give those information. And I'm happy to have sat on both sides, whereas we had details, we had information, and we were compelled by the government to reveal the details, and we were taken to court about it. So it's not even, it's not something we could be proud of, taking a lot of people's data. So I think good example, and I think Engineer Sarungi will agree with me on this. In Estonia, they have a data stack where a person fills out the detail once, and then they move through government services only on those specific data. So once I've registered, let's say with Jamii number, I've input all my details. And because every government has its own data, so when I move to the hospital, they will only take data that the hospital actually needs. And then you can track who had access to those data all along the way. So it's a trade-off. And I think how are we transacting with less, but with trust, so we can take less data and still complete the transactions.
Okay, but at the same time, I'm thinking, there's the one aspect of where we want to be protected, but there's the other aspect where we're giving information freely. So any thoughts on that? Because I think now with everything that we do, WhatsApp, it's your data, it's your information that you're sharing, willingly or unwillingly. But in terms of, from the government, what could you advise in terms of protection for the citizens?
Well, it's a very tricky one, because most of these platforms that we use that are free, actually we are the product. And we supply them with a lot of information. And if it wasn't free, then we were supposed to pay for it, which then we can afford to pay for these free things that we're consuming every day. So there's little that we can do unless we're also willing to pay for it. Like all this WhatsApp, Facebook, whatever we use, that are free, we are the product because we are continuously giving them information about ourselves, and they weaponize that information in terms of advertising and all other things. And that comes at the cost of them being free. So it's a bit tricky unless we tell people not to use them or they pay for it. But I think on the government side is how, part of their stack, how can they neutralize us giving the same information to different organizations of the same kind? If I go today to TRI, can I just give my number and then they'll call Mr. Sarungi, like this is Mike, then tick, it's done. When I go to police loss report, do I need to constantly, give my details? When I go to renew my license, when I go to renew my, when I go to ask for a passport, they ask for all those details. And like you asked the same questions when I was applying for my NIDA. Why do you need these information again? To prove if I'm a Tanzanian and I have a card. So I think we have a task on how do we harmonize data within, so they only move based on the information that is actually needed. Can I just apply this thing once? And I think we did this with NIDA, so I don't know why immigration has to ask me again my birth certificate, my mother's, my father's, so because in this world, I think government is the biggest data holder, and they move across different departments. So how can they move, and how can we track, and how can they only get the detail that they actually want?
Okay. Thank you very much. How many of us were on ChatGPT this morning, 5 minutes ago? Okay. Coming back to you, Harry, the legal infrastructure. So we're talking about all these innovations, cutting-edge technologies. We might be talking about smart contracts, the blockchain technologies, and all this. From a legal standpoint, do you feel that Tanzania's current statutory framework is agile enough to legitimize these innovations?
Agile enough? Not yet.
Are we still on the paper and stamp reality?
Not there.
From a legal framework?
Not there. We are ahead of it. And
Okay.
I would definitely adopt, or rather make reference to Engineer Zuberi's presentation earlier when they were in the previous panel, and I think she said we're on level 3. So the truth is, in terms of adaptation, we are doing very good. So the legal framework, and now that's, again, as a lawyer, I would love to always hinge and rely on definitions. So perhaps the law is a specific instrument, maybe not, but adaptation and having these smart contracts, blockchain and digital technology in terms of application, we are basically there. I think most of us here tunadaiwa na boostisha right now. So we're already there. Whether we do have a law that specifically defines that, that's another thing. But are we applying and are we living the reality of that? Yes, we are. Yes.
Well, there's hope. Questions from the floor? Okay, I have 1, 2. That's it, okay. Oh, 3, okay. Could we have somebody please help us pass the mic? Do we have more mics in the back of the room, or should we use these ones? Please start over there. So we'll take all 3 questions and then we'll bring it back to the panel to respond.
Thank you. Naomba nitumie Kiswahili. I think we all understand Swahili.
Karibu.
Asante. Naitwa Rukaya. Swali langu linaenda kwa Mr. Sarungi. Mmeongelea kuhusu mifumo ya tehama kuingiliana ama something like that. Na ukatolea mfano kwamba mtu unaweza ukatoka hospitali moja ukaenda hospitali nyingine huko umefanywa vipimo na ukapata hivyo the same vipimo kwenye hospitali nyingine, from the government to the private hospitals. Sasa sijui kama ni swali ama ni maoni. Kwanza tungeanza kufanya vile vitu ambavyo kama nchi ama kama taifa, kufanya vile vitu ambavyo kila Mtanzania anahisi kweli nchi ina practice hiyo technology. Kwa sababu kwa mfano mdogo, mimi leo nitaenda migration kutafuta passport. Nitapeleka data zangu zote. Nikiwa let's say na miaka 10, nimepeleka data zangu zote. Nitarudi pale kwenda kurenew passport. Mimi nitaenda kugewa tena form zote. Kuanzia picture, jina, nitaambiwa nilete affidavit, everything. Ambavyo tayari kama migration, they have all those data. Maybe nilitakiwa tu kuombwa picture kama nilikuwa mtoto, sasa nimekuwa mtu mzima, nipigwe picture mpya. Something like that. Lakini sasa kitu kama hicho unaombwa, it really doesn't, sorry, but it doesn't make sense. Unaona? And then you hear telling us kwamba kuna mifumo ambayo inaingiliana. How do you communicate that? Yani Mtanzania wa kawaida anajuaje? Kwa sababu mimi leo ndo nimekuja kujua hapa kwamba naweza kufanywa kuchukuliwa kipimo cha x-ray, let's say Muhimbili, na nikaja Aga Khan nikakuta kipimo changu ama MRI. But ukija kwenye upande wa biashara, if you don't communicate that, means mimi nitapigwa MRI Muhimbili na nitakuja Aga Khan nitaambiwa tena nifanye MRI. But nikiwa na uhakika kwamba vipimo vyangu vipo, the same ones, means I can just go there and tell kwamba my name is this and maybe I can get my vipimo. So kitu ambacho nakiomba, nilikuwa nasoma profile yako hapa, kwa nafasi yako unachoweza kufanya, moja is to communicate whatever you're doing as the government to us. Lakini la pili is to practice whatever you're trying to come up with as engineers or professionals kwenye sekta ya habari ya tehama. Asante.
Asante. We had another hand here, please. If you can bring the mic over here to the front of the room here, and then we'll.
Thank you so much. What a riveting discussion. Rita Kaurananga, blessed also to be a board member, and very excited to see how these conversations are coming along. My question is, again, possibly to the gentleman here and of course, sir, on monetization. If we want to enable and ensure that the regular Mwananchi is able to start understanding how to register a business without going through BRELA, which is this big, how do we unpack amazing digital platforms that I myself am still needing to pay someone to advise me? How can we simplify or even, go back to traditional media? Using the radio. It's so good that we're on a digital highway. Lakini, is it possible that we have left behind the programs which I can reach bibi kule kijijini, aweze kujua namna kusajili a very small business? How do we use traditional media as well as the current amazing digital highway? But I have to say, many of the platforms from Nest, okay, God bless you. BRELA are very, do you register as an agent or I think some of you might have this experience. It is very complicated. Tahusi ndio kabisa. Imenishinda. Nasema ukweli. Respectfully, we can talk and then have lunch and go back home. But I'm currently struggling to go on some of these platforms right now. Simplification is what I'm asking. How simple, or can you give us programs on the radio, on TV? This is how to do. YouTube, crash course on registering on BRELA. Nikienda BRELA, samahani, in respect to BRELA, oh my goodness, the line is this big. By the time you get to the front, the lovely lady is tired. She'll say, come back tomorrow. Samahani, I took so long. but it's a critical point. If we're gonna go the monetizing, building the economy of the normal mwananchi, itabidi tuangalie namna kufacilitate hizi process. Asante.
If we could pass the mic, yeah, to the lady. Asanteni akina mama, mmeniokoa. Hakira.
Hello everyone, I'm Advocate Philomena from Youth, Environmental Justice and Gender Equality. My kwanza naomba ni uphold hongera kwa speakers wetu hapo mbele. It was very exciting to get some new information about a number of stuffs. Ila swali langu litaelekezwa kwa kiongozi pale, kwa sababu unfortunately kwa swala la mifumo ya afya kuoana na mfano wa kwamba ukichukuliwa x-ray hospitali fulani ukaenda hospitali nyingine, on the ground that is not the case. I have a real scenario, a true scenario ambayo ilitokea kwangu. Tulikuwa tunamuassist, tunatoa huduma and like kufacilitate mgonjwa ambaye alipitia ajali mbaya sana ambayo tulishuhudia ili aweze kupata matibabu. Sasa you cannot imagine, saa 7 mchana amechukuliwa x-ray pale Rabinisia, kwa sababu alichukuliwa vipimo vyote including hiyo x-ray. Alafu baada ile kwamba amechukuliwa first aid, amezinduliwa kwamba sasa yuko ile conscious state, tukasema sasa ahamishiwe Mwananyamala ili familia yake itake over kuendelea kufacilitate matibabu yake. Na imagine transfer ilifanyika the very same day saa 12 jioni. A difference ya kutoka saa 7 mpaka saa 12 amefikishwa Mwananyamala mida ya saa 1:30. Mwananyamala walitaka yule mgonjwa achukuliwe vipimo vyote vile vile ambavyo vimefanyika the very same day at Rabinisia. Mind you, Rabinisia kwa rankings za hospitali ile ni referral, ina referral status. Mwananyamala nayo ina referral status. Yani kulikuwa na complication kubwa sana ambayo it took us 2 hours Mwananyamala kukubali. Tena ni kwa kutumia connection ya kiongozi mkubwa wa Wizara ya Afya, ili tu ile familia isipitie gharama ya kulipa matibabu kwa yale ambayo yamefanyika huku nyuma. Jamani, mifumo ya afya haioani. Tena kwa wale wagonjwa, na I believe humu ndani kuna mashuhuda pia, na kwa wale wagonjwa ambao ndo wanatoka private kwenda kwenye public, yani kuna kama ka friction kanaendelea, if I'm being honest. Yani ukifika kule kwenye public walikuwa wanapewa hiyo attitude ni hakuna. Unaambiwa network inasumbua, data haziingiziki, anza upya. Imagine 2 hours mtu yuko pale emergency Mwananyamala, na ni mtu ambaye amepitia ajali the very same day. Kwa sasa swali linakuja, kama mtaalamu, mifumo ya afya mnaioanisha vipi kati ya private institution na public institution? Kwa sababu ingekuwa kwamba ni mtu wa kufa ile siku, yani yule alikuwa anatakiwa kwenda. Na sasa to make matters worse, huwezi amini, ile friction ilipelekea to the point ambao yule mgonjwa alitakiwa achukuliwe surgery, ilibidi kupita mlango wa nyuma, kumtipu daktari wa Mwananyamala aweze kumuattend huyu mgonjwa, afanyiwe hiyo surgery hiyo inayotakiwa kufanyika kabla ya kesho yake asubuhi. Kwa sababu angevuka asubuhi ambayo ilikuwa inakuwa proposed kwa hizi taratibu za kawaida, huyu yani sasa hivi tunaongelea kwamba hii enka hapa ingeshindwa kufanya nini? Kuwa repaired tena. Kwa sasa kuna vitu ambavyo ndio inawezekana kama viongozi kuna feedback mnapewa, lakini on the ground that is not the case. Yani at least labda tujaribu siku moja nyinyi kama viongozi mvae mavazi ya kawaida, mjitokeze kama wagonjwa, mwenye x-ray iliyopikwa toka hospitali moja kwenda nyingine, ama document moja peleka nyingine, uone kama hiyo kitu ita apply. Zile transfer forms zenyewe ilibidi ziprintiwe Rabinisia ili zifike Mwananyamala. Nazo walikuwa wana reject kuzi admit kama ni medical report ya mgonjwa ambaye anatakiwa kufanya nini, aendelee kupewa huduma.
Asante. Asante sana.
Asante.
Asanteni for the questions. I think you'll all agree with me. What we are hearing, some of these things, and we'll take it on advice. We talked about it earlier, feedback mechanisms. So had we had the right channels, or did we know where to put this feedback? And we know that it's being acted on. Hatukuhitaji kuongea some of these things in such a room. But this is the reality of the journey. So I hope we're all taking note, and respectfully, serikali pia ina take note of some of these issues as well. We really want to move to that citizen-centered digital state, but these are the lived experiences za hawa citizens. So on advice, Engineer Sarungi, you may respond, but I think I do not want to turn this into a case-by-case discussion. Kwamba naanza kuongelea kesi hili kwa vile, kesi vile. So just, I think if you can just give us a big picture, that would be good, and also in the interest of time. So I understand we're about to go to lunch. Na amini Engineer Sarungi yuko bado, so we can also have time with him during lunch tuendelee ku air out what we have, but I'd really love to hear from you. It's been talked about, the interoperability, the privacy, the convenience of what we're saying can actually happen. And we also understand innovation is a work in progress always, so pengine kuna mikakati zaidi inafanyika, unaweza ukatupa mwanga kidogo kwenye hayo. And there was also a question around monetization. I believe, Mike, you're also here for lunch? So I was going to say to everybody in the room, please do not take this for granted. If you haven't met Mike, please make sure leo kaa naye lunch. Hautatoka bure, niamini mimi. So yes, we'll have Mike talk about the monetization as well, but naomba tu kwa ruhusa, nitaruhusu serikali kwanza ianze. I have another question for you, but anyway.
Okay, no, so I just want to put a good story around monetization, and I'll give an example of what has happened before, so that msoneli jambo mimi nalitengeneza tu kutoka kichwani kwangu. So when 30 years ago, when makampuni ya simu yalipokuwa yanaanzisha biashara ya simu, biashara ya simu ilikuwa ni postpaid, kwamba you use your phone, you pay end of the month. And then it was difficult kukusanya madeni, ndio ikaja hii prepaid. Sasa ilipokuja prepaid, kwamba unanunua voucher afu unakwangua unaweka, pakatokea tatizo lingine. Sasa sawa, ni nzuri kwamba kila anayetumia anakuwa tayari ameshailipia, kampuni haina hasara. Nikaja kugundua kwamba watu hawajui hizo processes sasa za kuingiza kangua voucher, kuingiza voucher kwenye simu, kucheki salio kama imeisha au haijaisha. So makampuni ya simu yakawa yana mawakala, super dealer, kuna dealer, ndo kuna wale ile miamvuli kule barabarani. So walipunguza bei za voucher ziweze kuwa benefit hawa watu, lakini kwa makubaliano kwamba wao ndio watakuwa wanafundisha watu kuweka voucher kwenye simu zao. Si ndio? So watu wengi ukiuliza umejeje kuweka voucher, alifundishwa kwa voucher na yule aliyokuwa anauza. Ndio anakukangulia, anakuambia star 102, star ngapi unaweka. So they did the onboarding, the education of usage ya system. Mpaka kila mtu akawa anaweza kuweka voucher mwenyewe. Zamani nakumbuka mtu akawa anasimia kama niongeze salio. Then the education, those are the people who spearheaded education on how people are supposed to recharge. And the same thing happened when walivozindua M-Pesa. The agents were the people delivering the education on how to use these platforms. And in return, these agents were given commission. The reason tunaona kupokopa na commission kwenye agents wasn't because of transaction, it's because of the knowledge. Password, una transfer vipi, unatumaje hela. So the government has built all this big infrastructure, those big systems. Kama hizo hospitali na mambo mengine. But for it to trickle down, it will be difficult to just by education we need people doing one-on-one, kumweleza kila mtu namna ya kuitumia kila siku mpaka anaelewa. Kwa sababu hakuna, there's no enough media, there's no enough radio, there's not enough TV that's going to help them unless people get interpersonal education. Sababu kujifunza kitu kipya, kuna some sort of, the research says so, kwamba mtu wa kwanza anaanza kujifanya, anaanza kuona mimi ni mjinga, mimi sijui. So that one-on-one is what helps learning. And the reason they did not do all this massive campaign, wakuja kujua kwamba there's a psychological term for it, nimesahau, lakini pale mtu anapoambiwa kwamba hajui na ni mshamba, inafunga kujifunza. Na ikishafunga kujifunza, hawezi kuconsume taarifa mpya. Hawezi tunakwambia hatoelewa. So anakuachia hapo livo, atakufuata ofisini, njoo unifanyie. So I think it's a mechanism that has been done before. It has been practiced, and I think it works.
Thank you so much. First of all, I agree with you, all of you, and because we are building this together. And before I respond to some of the issues and some of clarification, I would like to ask, how many of us have our JAMI numbers? National identity numbers. How many of us? You can raise your hand. Yes. NIDA is an institution. Yes. So, yeah. So NIN is national identity number, and we call it JAMI number. And how many of us have proof of residency from NAPA? Proof of residency.
Who is NAPA?
Very good. Very good. So that means every time that you want to, that your proof of residence is required, you go to the village executive officer to have the introduction letter. How many of us have tried to have the introduction letter for 5 years? Yes. So what I'm saying is transformation is a journey. Is a journey. Is not something to flip immediately. It's a journey, and it needs a lot of awareness, and change management is also a topic, and is actually a discipline in academic. Change management itself is an issue to have the mentality change to the new ways of doing things. So basically what I'm trying to say here is, we have the NAPA, National Physical Addressing System, which actually you can have your physical addresses digitally. You can have them, and you can use it anywhere. But almost like more than 70% of us, we don't have that, and we still rely on the introduction letter from the village executive officers. That doesn't mean that we don't have the digital physical addressing systems in place. But again, when coming to the health sector is very diverse, and there are a lot of administrations, especially when you involve private sector. So with private sectors, the government is there to create the platform and the environment ready for private sector hospitals to connect on that. And you cannot just force, like, you need to connect by this week. It is a process. So you might find you are being attended by a private sector hospital, which is not yet connected to the interoperability platform, to the health interoperability platforms. So you might find like your data is still there, and because you don't know, you are just having there for service. But it is a process. It will come a time when all the institutions from private sector have joined. The same as right now, we have the national identity number. But when the national identity number was issued, the banks were still accepting other IDs as well, accepting the voter's ID, accepting whenever you need to open an account, you can also provide any other IDs which were legal, because it was part of the process that we still use these IDs, but will come a point where you will not use any other ID but the national identity platform. So that is a process, and I accept all of us. This is also an opportunity for the innovators. Like, we have a gap in mass communication. This is an opportunity. I would like us to take that as an opportunity, so that you can see how you can help the government to engage with the citizens. It's also a very good opportunity. Other countries are using that as well. Maybe on the summary for the highlights, I can just highlight on the simplification. That is okay, we accept that. It's a very valid point, because some old traditional ways like radios, TV, we still need them, because we have a very diverse society, and the gap is very difficult. But again, there are some few issues. For example, we have the new passport. which was offered, I think it was 20 something, and the expiry date is maybe 10 years. I'm not sure if someone have already renewed the passport from this new system, because the first one, the system, this is the smart passport. The first one was not smart. So even with the driving license, this is the address, is the new system, the complete new system. There are new fields that we are not part of the old system. So with the transformation, when it comes to the upgrade, or phasing out of the old legacy system to have the new system, there are some of the things that may require to refill, but I'm very sure that after this, if the same systems continues, you will not have to be required to fill those again. But if I can finalize on what my colleague said earlier, is one's only principle, that is what is being used in Estonia, as he said. And that is our vision as the government, to have one's only principle. If your data being collected to certain government agents, you don't need to submit those data again. And we have started somehow. For example, right now, you can remember when you open an account BRELA, it could take some middlemen to have the TIN number. Those who were registered the companies, those years, they know. But right now, you register the company with BRELA, the same registration number, is the same TIN number. We are moving, we are going somewhere. So if I can finalize this, is let's all unite together, and we have the platform for feedback. It's called eMrejesho. With eMrejesho, you can just Google it, eMrejesho. With eMrejesho, you can even provide feedback anonymously. If it's a whistleblowing system, you can provide under wherever institute, wherever ministry, even at the president's office, you can still comment, and I can assure you that all those which are being put there are being followed, and the feedback are being returned to them if the identity was visible. But if it was anonymous, they will just see the steps have been taken. So please, I would like to comment on that, and then maybe we need a lot of these sessions, because
yes,
I see the time is not enough.
Yes, so the time is definitely not enough.
Yeah, thank you.
But now I'm wondering, this eMrejesho, how anonymous is it if you have my IP address?
maybe for the comment again, please, at your own time, go and read the US Cloud Act. It's someone was discussing about those free services that we are using with the WhatsApp and other social media platforms. That act actually requires every American company in tech to be able to provide access to government, even those companies or those data are hosted out of the United States. So even if the data is hosted in maybe in United Arabs, is an American company, the US government have the access. You can just go, it's very clear written in the US Cloud Act. So please, at your own time, I would like to comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm seeing hands even from my own panelists. But yes, I would allow you to make a comment on that. And Harry, I have one more question for you. I would really love your insights for startups in the room. So, but first, please. Okay, I'm being told our time is up. We're wrapping up. Thank you. Kennedy.
Dakika moja tu. Conversation kubwa hapa, unajua tunazungumzia sana miundombinu. Ipo. Lakini tusichanganye kati ya miundombinu na matokeo, kwa sababu hivi vitu vinakaa kwenye end of the spectrum. Kila moja kinakaa kwa namna yake, kwa sababu unaweza kusema tumejenga minara 1000 Tanzania nzima, lakini watu wangapi wamekuwa connected? Watu wangapi wameweza kutumia? Ukisema tuna eMrejesho, watu wangapi wanafahamu ipo, na watu wangapi wanatumia kweli kutoa hiyo feedback? Hilo ni jambo la kwanza ambalo nitaka kulizungumza kwa haraka sana. Lakini la pili, kuna Mike na wengine hapa wameshazungumza. Kuna swala la kwamba tunazindua kwenye ngazi ya taifa, lakini tuna faili locally, huku kwa watu halisi. Na mifano midogo ya kufikiria ni namna ambavyo tuliweza kuendesha kampeni ya miaka 5-10 ya nyumba ni choo. Kila sehemu tulipita, tulikwenda kwenye grassroots level, tunawaelimisha watu, tunataka tuone matokeo. Lakini tunapokuja kwenye mifumo ambayo inajenga uchumi wa sasa na baadaye, inawaleta wananchi kwenye uchumi halisi wa sasa na baadaye, hatuweki effort ya kutosha kwenye kuwaleta kwenye huduma kama hizo. Kwa hiyo ni kitu ambacho lazima tuzingatie sana tunapokuwa tunajenga miundombinu ya aina hii. Lakini mwisho tunafikiria sana kwenye kupima reach. Wanasema kwa mfano tumefanya media campaign, tumefanya press releases, tumefanya tumeweka kwenye mifumo yetu, kwa mfano tovuti na kadhalika, si ndio? Tumeshasema launch ABC, ni mfumo mpya. Sasa kuna swala la kulaunch na kuweka kwa umma, lakini pia kuna swala la kupima uelewa wa matumizi. Yamezungumzwa hapa haya. Hilo ni swala ambalo kiongozi wetu hapa kutoka serikalini tunapaswa kuizingatia. Na kwa sekunde 15 nilizungumzia swala la feedback. Tunaimrejesho, lakini mimi ningefurahi kila mwananchi anapohudumiwa kwenye specific service, turuhusu mtu akaweke star 2 au 3 pale, aseme kwamba mimi bwana hii huduma unaona, hivyo ndio inavyofanyika duniani kwingine, kwamba bwana mimi nimefurahia huduma hii na nimepata huduma nzuri star 5. Huduma hii haikuwa nzuri, ilikuwa ni ngumu kwa sababu zipi na zipi. Kwa kuna swala hilo from a communication perspective, nafikiri tunapaswa kuliangalia namna tunavyoweza kuboresha. Tusije tukawa tunatengeneza infrastructure lakini tuna fail katika execution au localize. Asante.
Okay. Asante. I will allow Harry, and while you're responding, naomba pia utatupa to just very quickly, you've reviewed the Tanzania startup policy. So what tips, advice do you have for startups who want to sell to the government?
Thank you. Kabla sijafika kule, na mimi kwa nataka ni weigh in katika the same subject that we have been speaking. Na mimi my recommendation, and I think we've been speaking this a lot when we are speaking about reforms, ni kwamba I would verily ask the government, number moja, ku walk away from regulatory revenue. Wakili umeongelea kuhusiana na issue ya mifumo haisomani. Sometimes it's by design, because tunavyoongelea kwamba MRI ya Rabinsia isomeke Mwananyamala, Mwananyamala si MRI as a revenue, not as a service. Kwa hiyo most of the time we have that problem, especially huku kote tunavyoongelea BRELA, what not, kurenew data. It's a revenue generating factor, but a government agency should be focused on services, not on generating revenues. So you focus on that and you have a solution. Now that's a big problem that we have, and I think we need to work on that. Quickly on startups. We've fortunately, as a firm, Breakthrough Attorneys and myself, been fortunate to sit katika process ya kufanya startup policy and act on the mainland side, and currently we also sit katika committee ya kudevelop kudraft Zanzibar Startup Act as well. Now the biggest problem that we have seen ni number moja, I'm saying this for third time, definition. Kwenye startup policy, wakati tunaongelea baseline study iliyofanywa, we found kwamba number one ni kwamba hakuna consensus with regards to what a startup means, or even the word itself. Iliappear maybe as start up, Zahor is here. Start up as 2 words, making one. It also appeared start dash up. It also appeared startup as 1 word. Semantically, that is an issue in itself. Secondly, there are still people that think a startup should and is and a small scale or a medium scale organization. No more, no less. When you have that issue, you cannot support it. So among many things that we have been doing and what we are seeing and what we are saying that should happen, number one is to simply identify what it is as a creature. When you identify it, you can help it. Secondly, we are talking about to make sure kwamba kuna procurement quotas za startups katika kupewa kipaumbele. Number 3 is about, and by the way, these we have seen in various countries that have already enacted laws. Number 3, there is partnership. So procurement quotas, you'd say that among government procurement in innovation, the government should give maybe 40%. There are countries which say 40% of innovation contracts will go to startups specifically. Okay. And we have seen countries which are doing this in Africa. Number 3, and which is very practicable for me, the way I see it, even measurable compared to the procurement quota is the partnership between global firms and startups. A global firm will not be awarded until it partners with a startup. This also ensures knowledge transfer, technology transfer, and also practicable, because innovation is also capital heavy. And if you can grant them a contract, in a normal case, sometimes they fail because it needs a lot of capital. But this one ensures that partnership, knowledge transfer among many. Number 4, you have the issue of sandboxes. And it has been spoken in the first panel,
the previous panel,
in the second panel, etc. And that ensures innovation from within as well. Number 5 is the issue of piloting before procurement. This is also an area that startups can really be fostered and thrive. But last, these are all regulatory, legal, blah, blah, blah. It's mambo jumbo. In a manner of speaking, if you don't have political will to support it. Last government, there was a regional commissioner here who was implementing a law that people cannot drink alcohol in the afternoon, if you remember. That law is 40 years old. It was there. Nobody was implementing it. When that regional commissioner came, he just picked it from a shelf and implemented it. What am I saying? We may change the laws. We might put them in colorful laws for startups, blah, blah, blah. But if we don't have political will to implement, it will not be it. There are countries which do not have any laws for startups, but the political will is making changes. Kenya doesn't have a startup act. However, it's racking up #1 for startup financing in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I believe you'll all agree this was a masterclass in building a digital Tanzania. Thank you very much to my panelists. A big round of applause to them. Karibu Kels.
Sasa kwa sasa inamaanisha lunch mna nusu saa tu. Just so that we know. Ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, we wanted a group photo.
And tunaenda kwenye group photo. We're going to do a group photo. To those who don't know me, my name is Khalil Amboy. We will meet later. But for now, we are going to lunch. Lunch is going to go from now all the way to 2:20. So we're going to be back in the room at 2:20 to begin the conversations. I do believe everybody has a coupon.